Namaste. It's time for another bicycle live stream. It's almost 7 a.m. on Sunday, the 7th of November. I've ridden about 33 kilometres and it's actually turning into a nice morning. Started off a little bit of light rain. Wasn't able to do the live stream last Sunday because inclement weather. But looks like I can continue this series that I started 2 weeks ago with a live stream that I called the third most important lesson I've ever learnt, which was something that it was a live stream. I hadn't done one since the passing of my father, so it was the first one I'd done since then. So today's live stream is called the second most important lesson I've ever learnt. So just to recap from last Sunday, the third most important lesson I've ever learnt, and if you want to watch this live stream from not last Sunday, the previous Sunday, 2 weeks ago, you can watch it on YouTube. So the third most important lesson that I've ever learnt is that emotions come from within us, nowhere else, no one else other than ourselves. We are the person responsible for our emotions coming from our thoughts, and when we understand that, when we accept that, we have an incredible ability to do something about them, basically, and we have a good increase in self-awareness then. So that was 2 weeks ago. I talked about understanding that our emotions come from within us, that no one outside of ourselves, other than us, can make us happy or sad. No one has that power, and when we realize that, we immediately regain the power to be in control of our emotions. So this morning I'm talking about the second most important lesson I've ever learnt. So let's start off by saying, imagine you decide you want to go to a magic show, an illusion show. You know, you pay your money, you go and sit in the audience, and you're watching in person, in real life, so to speak, you're watching illusions that your mind knows are impossible. Your mind is going, how is that possible? You know, you're watching the old illusions of, you know, sawing somebody in half and person being in two places at once and that, and you're watching these illusions and you're going, how is that possible? I mean, I know it's not possible. That person couldn't be sawn in half, and yet my mind is telling me that that's what I'm seeing. So we go along and pay this money to be put in a state of illusion. And this analogy leads on to the second most important lesson I've ever learnt. And no, it's not to do with being in illusion. Sorry, it is a bit, but it's far deeper than that. And it has a lot to do with the experiences I've gone through recently with my father leaving his body. So, let us bring in the third most important lesson from 2 weeks ago, that your emotions come from within you. And let's expand on it, because whilst your emotions come from within you, here's a little extra piece of information that makes it a bit more interesting. And that's the fact that you are not your emotions, nor are you the thoughts that your emotions come from. These temporary thoughts that when we're asleep we call dreams, these temporary emotions are not you, the spirit soul within. They are part of the magic show, the illusion that is covering you. And it goes deeper than that, because not only are you not your thoughts, not only are you not your emotions, but the biggest illusion of all, the biggest magic show, is that you are not your body. And yet every day, every minute of every day, you fall for this trick. Your mind, your false ego, tells you every day that you're your body. It tells you every day that your happiness will come from satisfying the desires of your material body. And you and I and every other living being fall for this every time we look in a mirror, every time we look at a photograph, every time somebody says, "How old are you?" And you go, "Oh, well, I'm 57. No, you're not. You are eternal. You are not male, female, young, old, tall, short, slim, overweight. You are not black or white or any label that you put on yourself is only being put on your temporary vehicle. You are no more your body than you are the Mercedes you drive or the BMW or the Toyota. And it would be absolutely foolish if somebody said to you, you know, "How old are you?" And you go, "Oh, I'm 4 years old," because that's the age of your Toyota. You know, a person would look at you and go, "What?" And yet, that's what we tell people. We say, "Yeah, I'm 57 years old," because that's the age of my body. We identify so strongly with the body that every moment of every day, our self-worth is tied up in our false body identification. We think that if we're overweight, we're worth less. If we're anorexic, we're worth less. If we're too short, too tall, too simple-minded, whatever the excuse we want to give for our lack of self-worth is tied into the illusion that we are the body, that we are falling for every moment that we wake up, every night when we go to sleep, every time we have an ache or a pain in our body. We are falling for this illusion. And this false body identification is easily shown to be an illusion, as anyone who has been through the experience, and we've all been through this experience where we have witnessed the body when ourselves, the soul, has departed, and the body remains, the material body remains behind, but the life, us, the soul, has left. That's when the illusion that we are the body can clearly be seen to be a lie, to be the illusion it is, the false body identification. And, you know, this was, 6 weeks ago, now 5, 6, 7 weeks ago, this was brought home once again to me so clearly when Mum and I sat with my father's body shortly after he, the spirit soul, had left, and we sat there for a couple of hours as his body got colder and as it became stiffer, as the life force within that gave it animation was no longer there, and therefore was no longer capable of generating the power to keep that body going. So the second most important lesson is FBI, false body identification. When you completely absorb this lesson, when you completely accept that you are not the body, this changes your perspective and your goals, and it changes your understanding of the purpose of life, and it changes the way you relate to other people as well. When you understand that your body is just a temporary vehicle, no different to the car you drive, it transports you, the soul, around, and at some point you open the door and step out of it, and never get back in, this, gives you a much deeper, powerful spiritual perspective. And the most obvious way to understand this and to see this in practice is to be there when somebody leaves their body. We say, he's gone, and that's, what we said when Father left his body. I said, he's gone. And it's like, well, how can you say he's gone? His body's still here. He's still here. His body's still warm. It's like, no, he's gone. The person that we loved, that we related to, the spirit soul within that was traveling in that body has opened the door and stepped out and is unable to return. So it's like you've sold your car, you've traded your car in, and you're not going back to that car. What is hard for all of us is to have the courage to love someone knowing that will happen. Knowing our need for love is so great that we need to love. But what is hard is knowing that the person that we're attached to, that we knew so much by their body, is going to leave. And at some point, and as that becomes closer and more, I'm going to say realistic, but as it becomes more obvious or more likely, let's put it that way, as that point comes where it becomes more likely, then it becomes more challenging for us. So it's really, really important to not only understand that we are not the body, and therefore our purpose is not to spend our life trying to satisfy every desire of the body. Our purpose is to take good care of it as any vehicle that we travel in, to take good care of it, to service it, to make sure it's healthy and functioning correctly. But our purpose is so much deeper than that on a spiritual level, that we are just wasting precious time when we think that we are the body, and when we think that the other people around us are their body, when we connect with them on such a superficial level. Not only will we not find any deep connection, because we're only connecting so superficially, but it will just not satisfy us at our core level. So your daily challenge is the same as mine and every other living being, is to basically realize that every morning when you wake up, you are being subjected to the ultimate magic show, the ultimate illusion. And your mind is going, wow, how can that be? I believe that I am this body, and every day, every moment of every day, your mind will keep reinforcing this lie, this false body identification, this illusion. Your challenge is to be aware of it and to remind yourself on a very regular basis that you're not the body. Because when you do, it changes where you find your happiness. It changes how you interact with others, because you see them as spirit souls traveling within different vehicles. So you don't value them as just the body they're in. You value them as an unconditionally loved child of the universe. And you value yourself as an unconditionally loved child of the universe. And when the inevitable happens, when your relationship with the person that you knew as your father or your mother or your child, your brother or your sister, your friend, when the inevitable happens and that vehicle that they're traveling in can no longer support them, then you will not be so completely devastated because you identified only with the body. So that is the second most important lesson I've ever learnt, and it is that we are not our body, nor are we our thoughts or our emotions. All of them are temporary, and all of them come from an illusion, illusory thinking, and which is known as coming from Maya. So I hope this has given you something to think about. Next week, weather permitting, I'll tell you what the most important lesson, the number one lesson is that I've ever learnt. So have a great day, live vegan and save lives. I'll speak to you soon. Ahimsa.